given some arguments in favor of the dynamicity of Prakriti. Prakriti is a kind of entity which is dynamic in character so far as the activities are concerned. So the activities in Shankho, it starts automatically without the interference of any conscious being. And it is told that the Prakriti has got the power of expansion. It is a kind of tattva which has got the inbuilt power. Inbuilt power means it can give you, it can be expanded, it can be subtracted, it can go anywhere. So, and this has been proved by the Sankho with the metaphor of a magnet. Just as a magnet can draw the iron particles from different corners of the place within the range of magnet. So iron particles are drawn towards magnet. In the same way, Prakriti can draw other things. So magnet is a kind of thing which is called inactive, which is called material, which is called a matter. So from the example of a magnet, we can come to the conclusion that a material object has got some power of its own, and it can draw other things. So magnet, though material in nature, yet it has got some power. So Prakriti's Shankho is like this. Though Shankho is matter, yet it is kriyashil. It has got some sort of activity. So it has got some material power, inherent power, which can be manifested at any time. And such example is also found in our modern science. What is the example? There is a theory which is called a power in water. That is, there is some sort of energy in water, fire in water. You will be astonished to know how fire is in water, because water is needed to extinguish fire. And now, how can you say that fire is needed? Fire is the characteristic features of water. Fire originates from water, just like a project from water, hydel project from water. So if water is thrown from upper side, from a distance, it can give rise to some sort of energy, power, or fire in other words, which is called hydel energy. We can use it in our day-to-day life. In Sanskrit, it is called Badavanal, a fire from water. So water is material object. Bhuta, Khittap Tej Marut Bom. Of is a kind of water. And in this water, there is also Teja. There is also a kind of fire. So from this, it can be supported Shankho that Prakriti, though material in character, has got some power of its own, just as water has got some inbuilt power. It cannot always be manifested, but if situation, you can create the situation. If you can throw water from a higher distance, in the down it can create energy. So Prakriti is also like this. Though material in character, it can produce energy. Another example we can give, which is called Dabanal. Dabanal is a kind of fire arising out of friction of two branches of a tree. In fire, in Amazon, we have seen few days back, there was fire. And the fire was originated from the friction of two green trees, two green branches of the tree. So the fire has destroyed some portion of Amazon. Why? Because fire was originated from the branches of the tree, friction of the branches of the tree. From this, we can come to the conclusion that Shankho philosophy is not nonsense in telling that a material object has got power of its own. So, though Prakriti is matter, yet it has got inbuilt energy, inbuilt power. There is no necessity of conjoining consciousness or Purusha for the manifestation of fire, manifestation of power, manifestation of activity. But one thing is to be remembered. The same Shankha told that Prakriti can work for the sake of enjoyment of Purusha, which seems to be contradictory, and my function is to remove the contradiction. Purushasya darshanartham, Purushasya kaivallartham. In order to make possible the enjoyment of Purusha, and in order to make the Purusha free from bondage, Prakriti works. Now, if Prakriti has got inbuilt power, and Purusha is called Udasina, inactive, it has no power of its own, it has no desire of its own, then how can it enjoy the result? Prakriti is working for the enjoyment of Purusha. So it can be argued that Prakriti, being unconscious, cannot have their own intention. If you go to the intentionality problem, then a conscious being has got intention. In Panini Vyakaran, it is told that Kortu Ripshitatamam Karma. What is called intention? Intention is what is desired by an agent. So if an agent desires something, mostly desired object is called an object, karma. So if Shitatamo is connected with the problem of intentionality. So if Prakriti is unconscious by nature, how it can intend, how she can. Prakriti stands for she. If she can, if she is material in, how can she seek for the enjoyment of Purusha? How she will have some sort of intention of her own for the enjoyment of Purusha and for the release of Purusha, liberation of Purusha. This is the problem. Now, Prakriti gives example that Prakriti has got three constituents, Sattva, Rajo, and Tam. When they are in the form of equilibrium, Sammavasa, there is dissolution. There is when the Prakriti remains at the stage of equilibrium, Sammavasa, then there is the dissolution, pralaya. If the status of equilibrium is somehow disturbed due to the preponderance of one guna over another, the creation starts. When the inbuilt power activates, when among the three gunas there is vaishamya, dissimilarity, there is somehow disturbance. How disturbance is there? One guna overpowered another. Sattva is over, then Raju and Tamo. Raju is over, then Sattva and Tamo, like this. If there is imbalance among the qualities, then the creation starts. This is their view. And this change is a natural phenomenon. There is no influence of any conscious being. Prakriti can evolve itself, herself. The spontaneous and natural activities are inherited by Purusha. Why it is called Purusha is suffering, Purusha is enjoying, Purusha is getting liberation. Why it is told by Shankar? My point is, the spontaneous and natural activities are inherited by Purusha by way of owning these due to false identification with Purusha. Purusha has no connection with Prakriti. Purusha has nothing to own or disown the qualities of Purusha, Prakriti. But some, due to misunderstanding, due to the absence of discrimination, vivekagraha, what has happened? These natural activities, spontaneous activities are inherited by Purusha. How? By way of owning. How he owns? Due to the false identification with Prakriti. He makes himself identified. He cannot distinguish that myself is different from Prakriti. This is called Viveka. And if there is a knowledge of discrimination, then Prakriti is removed. It is the main theory of Shankar. Now, this false identification is the reason for owning the enjoyment from Prakriti. But from Prakriti's side, the question of owning and disowning does not come in picture due to its unconscious nature. Purusha can own, Purush can disown due to the false identification with Prakriti. Because Purusha is Chetana, Purusha is conscious. But Prakriti has nothing to do with this. Prakriti cannot own, Prakriti cannot disown due to its material character. So now Prakriti cannot, but Purusha can do it. And this doing, owning and disowning of Purusha, enjoyment and non-enjoyment or liberation, this is, as I told, it is due to the false ascription, misunderstanding, false identification of Prakriti with Purusha, which is called Opachariki. Opachariki means it's a kind of false imagination. When I tell that a boy is a lion, the boy cannot be a lion. But so far as the figurative things are concerned, by implication, by figuratively, we can tell a boy as a lion. So in this way, due to absence of knowledge of discrimination, Purusha thinks himself identified with Prakriti, and this is called a kind of Vivekagraha. This is also a kind of Opachariki. Now, in modern physics, we can have the eulogization, or we can have glorification of matter. In physics, it is told now in CERN, the, the research is going on. CERN in Switzerland, it is going on. What going on? Whether Prakriti, atom, can be conjoined without the interference of any conscious being or not. If Prakriti, if atom is matter, how can it be conjoined automatically? Because without conjoining of two atoms, the binary atom cannot come into being. Dhanuka, Tranuka, Trasarenu. So these are multiplied. The initial thing is two atoms have to be conjoined. Now there is a controversy between physicists and the philosophers. The physicist tells the how the power comes in atom to conjoin themselves. Because without conjoining, the binary atom cannot come into being. So if they are inactive, if two atoms are material, they cannot automatically be conjoined. So there must be inbuilt power. Either we have to accept in atom there is inbuilt power of conjoining themselves, or we have to accept God particle, any conscious being. The physicists are telling in favor of inbuilt power of atom, or they called it is the power or inner energy to be combined. But the philosophers told from the very beginning, in the initial creation, started with the conjunction of atom. If the initial beginning started with the conjunction of atom, then how they are conjoined? The physicists say they have automatic power. Philosophers say no, there is no automatic by any power. How they can be conjoined? They can be conjoined with each other due to interference of the conscious being. This conscious being is nothing but God. So it is told, Sargadi Kalino, Donuka Prayojakam Karma, Prayatna Janno Karmatva. At is it is a kind of activity, and in the beginning there was no conscious being. When the creation started, after the great pralaya dissolution, there was no conscious being. If there was no conscious being, who has conjoined that? We are not there. So there must be a conscious being apart from the human creation or human beings. Therefore, it is stated that God was there and God is the final cause for conjoining the Purusha, the conjoining the two atoms. In this way, though the Naiyayikos do not accept the automatic conjoining of the atoms, because if the atoms conjoins automatically, then it will go on conjoining for endless period of time. So creation will go on, leading to no dissolution. But the physicists accept this, though this acceptance is controversial. Now there is a problem of Shankho, Toppo and Tapoko. The three gunas in Prakriti, they are the causes of suffering. Sattva, Raja, Tamo, they create suffering. But if there is the phenomenon of suffering, we must accept there is a phenomenon of sufferer, which is called Toppo Tapaka Sambandha. Tapaka is the cause of suffering, and Toppo is the sufferer. So Purusha is imagined as by the Sanko, the sufferer and the Prakriti are the causes of suffering. This is their primary view, which will be rejected afterwards by the Sanko himself and which will be supported by me. Now, there are three gunas, Sattva, Rajo, and Tamo, and they create the whole universe. Satta is there. Satta means Sattva, existence. An object is called existent because it creates something. So, if there is a creation within Prakriti, it is due to the imbalance of three qualities, as I told. So if there is preponderance of Sattva quality, then something is created. But if something is massive in character, it can assume shape and can resist the complete destruction. It is due to the tamo guna of the Prakriti. When some object is taken a shape and creates the whole world and resists the world from dissolution, destruction, it is due to tamoguna. And if the object changes, any matter cannot remain permanently in the same way. There is always changing. The change or movement is caused by another principle constituent, which is called Rajo. And this view also is accepted by the Buddhist. If there is something which really exists, it must have some activity. Jat sat tat arthakriyakari. Arthakriyakaritya lakshanam sat. So if there is a satta of an object, it must have some causal efficacy. It can do something. It cannot sit idle. In Bhagavad Gita, it is told that if something exists in the whole world, na jatu akarmakrit, there is nothing which cannot work, cannot do some activity. So here also, if some object exists, it can activate, it can work. And if something is working, then it must be changing. Suppose an wall can give you service, a television set can give you service. That's why the existence of television set is essential. But when it gives you service for longer period of time, there is a decay in the set, which you cannot understand in every moment. But when it will not work, you can understand that it has got some terminating edge. It has got some defective edge. So you can change it. So there is a change. So every object, though material in character, has got some efficacy, causal efficacy, and they are always changing. Who are the causes of, who are the effect of the three gunas, Sattva, Rajo, and Tam. Now the problem is, if we see the world, we will feel the cause and effect are identical from. They believe in Satkarjobad. Cause and effect are identical with the main primordial cause. So, if there is no beginning in the true sense of the term. But if there is no beginning, then enjoyment of Purusha is nonsensical. So Purusha is called Akarano and Akarja. Purusha is called, Purusha can neither cause anything nor caused by anything. So for Shankha, the evolution of the world by Prakriti requires the presence of Purusha to disturb the equilibrium of the three gunas of Prakriti. So Samanya Avastha Bhanga. For this, the existence of Purusha is essential. And the whole world is created, whole world is destroyed due to the association and dissociation of Prakriti with Purusha. This is their view. But my view and later Shankha view is that Purusha is not associated with Prakriti. The effect is always present in the cause. So as it is, they believe in the theory of Satkarjobad. So the object as it is remain as it is. Even the hundreds and thousands of artisans cannot transform blue into red for the simple reason that red is never present in blue. So Satkarjobad, what is there? So red is red. You cannot make it blue. So, if Purusho is Udasina, indifferent, inactive, how can you change the nature of Purusho? That is why Prakrito Purusho is called Aprakriti Avikriti. That is, Purusho is non-agent and non-effect, non-action even. So according to Shankho, though Purusha exists for the inspiration of Prakriti, for making the Prakriti work to distort the equivalence of the three gunas, leading to the creation and destruction of the world. Yet, actually, Prakriti is non-agent, akarana, and akarja, non-effect. Now, how we can see he is not bhakto, not abhakto. This is the thing. Now, Shankha says the Prakriti and Purusha. It is argued by Shankha that bondage and liberation of Purusha, the Purusha is conjoined with Prakriti by false ascription, by false identification. And due to this false identification is for the reason of the absence of knowledge of discrimination. It cannot discriminate that Prakriti is completely different from me. Due to this, Vivek of Jnana Bhav, due to the absence of knowledge of discrimination between Purusha and Prakriti, it is argued by the Shankha the bondage and liberation is possible. As they have false identification, they think Purusha consciousness thinks itself as bonded, as in bondage. But when this knowledge of discrimination comes into being, when Purusha can know that Prakriti is no way identified with me, then he is released from Bandhan and he became Mukta. This is the prima facie argument of Shankha. But this is not the correct answer. Why? It is told afterwards that it is really not Purusha is Baddha, because Purusha has no enjoyment, no liberation. Purusha is Udasin, indifferent. Prakriti is really Baddha, owing to the conjunction of Purusha or disjunction with the Purusha or Sannidha Matra with Purusha. Prakriti, it is Prakriti's view. Prakriti feels Baddha, Prakriti feels Mukta. By false identification from Prakriti's side with Purusha. Purusha has nothing to do. So Purushasya darshanartham, Purushasya kaivallartham. This thing has been done by Prakriti. So Shankara rightly told that enjoyment and liberation is ever possible, is never possible on the part of Purusha, who is utterly inactive or defunct. A Purusha is there, but defunct Purusha, defunct consciousness. And Shankha itself accepted afterwards that Purusha is not bound at all. He told, "Na kaschit Purusho buddhate." This is Shankha's view, not others. maybe later sung, but in the same Tattva Kaumudi it is given. Nor it is migrated to the world, assume transmigratory state. Samsara dasha for Purusha is not possible. For Purusha nakaschid Purusha bodhate, Purusha no samsarati. It cannot come in the transmigratory world, no kaschid samsarati. Nor it is liberated, no kaschid Purusha mukta. Just contradiction. As a matter of fact, bandhana, samsara, and moksha are not the essence of Purusha at all. Consciousness is there, but the consciousness is free from transmigratory state. It is free from bondage, and it is not free from liberation. It is free from liberation. So na kaschid purusho bodhate, na kaschid samsarati, na kaschid purusho mukto. So bandhana, samsara, and mukto are not the essence of purusha at all. A person who is really in bondage tries to end his bondage and thereby seeks for liberation. But one who is not in bondage cannot try for liberation. Purusha can neither be in the state of liberation nor be in a state of bondage. Because Purusha has not klesha, that is suffering due to ignorance. Purusha has no karma, action arising from merit and demerit. Purusha has no ashaya, the chitta, lokas of karma. So Purusha, these are not possible. Therefore, Purusha is utterly indifferent, unchanging, and devoid of gunas. Their consciousness is of this type. It has no sufferings, it has no karma, it has no lokas of karma. So how can it suffer? How can it be liberated? Therefore, it is called utterly indifferent, unchanging, and devoid of gunas. So it is Vachaspati told, Sabasana klesho karma sayanancha bandhano sankhanam purusho aparinami sambhava. So this vasana, etc., is not possible. Now the question is, again the question of why it is thought that Purusha is entitled to enjoyment and liberation. This is false ascription. This is bhoga and apavargo are secondarily attributed to Purusha. It is not there. Again, it is told Purusha is suffer from misery, old age, and death. The earlier Shanko they told, Jara marana kritam dukkhang prapnoti chetana purusha. So these are contradictory with each other. But when you tell that Jara and dukkha is with the consciousness, it is false. Because for Shankho, consciousness is Vishuddha Chaitanya, pure consciousness, described as Nitya Shuddha Baddha, Buddha and Mukta. Therefore, old age, death cannot be the dharma of a Purusha. But it is told, it has to be taken into account when the the term has been uttered by the Sankaites. There are two types of Purusha. One is Shuddha Buddha Mukta Svabhava, indifferent in character. Another Purusha is having Jara, Morano, etc. So there are two types. One type of Purusha is equivalent to Jiva. That is why when there is the arguments in favor of Bahupurushavada, that multiplicity of consciousness, they believe that it is due to the, the multiplicity of self which are called Jiva. Purusha is not in the true sense of the term. The evolution of Prakriti is spontaneous, it is told. I told earlier. One example, one metaphor is given just as milk from the udder of a cow. But this has very controversy because a cow can give milk to the calf. Why? Because it is to some extent spontaneous for the cow, being guided by any conscious agent. So here Prakriti gives rise to the activities. It is just not like a cow because cow is conscious. Cow has got affection towards calf. That's why he is giving spontaneous milk to the cow. But Prakriti is not so. Prakriti is not conscious in that way. So metaphor is also the given by Sankho has been rejected by the later Sankhites and also by Advaita Vedanta. And that is why Purusha's, it is not Purusha's interest, enjoyment and liberation. It is actually Prakriti's liberation and Prakriti's enjoyment. Is considered the interest of Purusha of its own. Prakriti thinks it is Sartha for her own, not for Artha. Again, the manifestation of milk, which I have already told, this metaphor cannot be taken into account. Again, there is Annapangu Nyaya. This metaphor.
Professor Ghosh, if you can summarize it,
Okay,
so that we
okay.
can have some discussion on it. Yeah?
Okay.
Because we are left with only in 5 minutes. You can summarize it, please.
I can do it.
Okay.
And the secondly, it is told Annapangu Nyaya, both are conscious. So one can guide another. But here two things, Purusha and Prakriti, one is conscious, another is unconscious. So they cannot communicate, reciprocate with each other. So that is why it is to be taken as a fallacious metaphor, which is called Drishtanto Dashtantiko Virodha. What is given by metaphor and what is meant, there is some sort of contradiction. Now, Gauropado, Vachaspati, Vijnana, Bhikshu, they have abandoned the multiplicity of Purusha and accept one Purusha. And Purusha is not really bound or liberated or migrated, but it is accepted as false application, false inscription. So Purusha is really consciousness for Shankha is disembodied, conscious, eternal, all-pervading, defunct, non-agent, having not quality and subtle. So Shankha told, Amurtas Chetana Bhogi Nitto Sarvagato Kriya Akarta Nirguno Sukshmo Atma Kopila Darshani. So this is the real nature of consciousness. The property of being active or defunct is real one of Purusha. While property of Purusho as active functional is nothing but the superimposition. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir, Professor Singh.
Thank you very much. Very
Okay.
illuminating presentation.
Okay.
And a lot of complex issues are very much clarified.
Yeah.
So let's open it for discussion. I was just looking into the chat box. There was no question, but please raise your hand or you come up with your questions, queries, observations, comments, whatsoever. So is there anybody?
Shall I?
Yeah,
Shall I?
please.
Please.
First of all, thank you, sir, for this very, very interesting, lucid presentation. Actually, I have 2, 3 questions. So let me just ask the first one. Sir, since you have discussed about the theory of consciousness in Shankar, so what we see in Shankar, as you have mentioned, even in your later part of your lecture, that it is Shuddha Chaitanya, pure consciousness, and an independent existing reality. It has independent existence. Now, in Naya, when we go, then we see that consciousness has been considered somehow as a byproduct. It's a kind of something that has come out because of the correlation between mind, self, and with sense organ. So why? I mean, there is so much difference, and which position do you support? Which one according to yeah.
Thank you, Munmun. So next question after my answer. Okay. So the first you raised very interesting question that consciousness, which is called Chetan, this consciousness comes into Atma as a byproduct, Aguntuk Dharma. It is called inherited or Aguntuk Dharma. Because the Chetana, the consciousness comes in self if the self is embodied one. If the self is a disembodied one, there is no Chetana in the true sense of the term. Our 5 sense organ cannot work because it can work Atma Manasha Sangyujyate Mano Indriyano Indriyam Artheno. These are the 3 phases of our perception. So if the consciousness is not there, an ultimate knowledge arises in Atma. And consciousness is called Agantuk Dharma or accidental property because it is possible only in the body, only in the cell covered by body. Shorir avacheda dharma. If consciousness remains only in the self which is limited by the body, if there is a self which is not limited by body, then there is no consciousness as you mean that consciousness. Agantuk dharma is not there. But one thing, Bonbon, I can tell you that there is a self also, which is called disembodied self. And this self, the Noyaikos call, it is a kind of self which is identical with God. Nitya Ganadhikaranam Atma. It contains the eternal object or knowledge, etc. etc. So as I am holding the platform of Shankha, I believe Shankha is also correct because there are 2 orders of consciousness. They also believe. One is falsified knowledge, is having falsified knowledge of discrimination. Another is knowledge of discrimination. What I told at the end, it is the consciousness which is not identified with Prakriti. It is Shuddha, Mukto. eternal, etc. So I believe Sankhya is not nonsense in the true sense of the term. They have also their argument.
Very good. So, is there anything else you want to ask, Dr. Moon?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for the first thing. I have another thing. I mean, another question related to the same point, that if it is Sudha Chaitanya, pure consciousness, and ultimately what we see in Shankar accepts that the ultimate way, the through which we can overcome our suffering, it is through knowledge, and that is discriminative knowledge between Purusha and Prakriti, because non-discrimination is the cause of all sufferings. Now, what we see in even Advaita Vedanta, there's almost the same position they are also supporting. Like, it is through knowledge we realize the pure consciousness, and ignorance is the result of bondage, suffering. Now, that's why in Advaita Vedanta, Prakriti is like Maya, perhaps.
Yeah.
Then the problem is that why then Shankar accepts two independent reality if ultimately they are accepting Prakriti is the cause of bondage? Why
Yeah.
then they are giving it as an eternal thing, as an equal status as Purusha?
Okay. Okay. So second question is also equally, it is from the Advaita standpoint. To Advaita, the main reality is one, that is Brahman. And when the creation is concerned, though Advaita started with duality, but ultimately culminates in oneness. So to them, ultimately one is real. But for Shankho, they call ultimately two are real. Pradhan or Prakriti is also real, consciousness is also real. They are not different. And so far as the knowledge is concerned, in Advaita Vedanta, the knowledge of Brahman is the cause of mukti, is the cause of liberation. But here the knowledge of Brahman, it is not the case. Knowledge of discrimination, that is, knowledge of viveka between Purusha and Prakriti. All sufferings arose due to our identification with Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha and Prakriti, that they are different with each other, this has to be known. If I know that Prakriti is no more related with me, I will be free. And this discrimination, knowledge of discrimination, gives the consciousness, makes a consciousness free. Though ultimately it is told by Sankhya, it is Prakriti relieved, not Purusha at all. Purusha was indifferent earlier, later also. Due to false ascription from the Prakriti's side, all the actions came. In Vedanta, Maya cannot go to that. Prakriti mixed with Maya, Brahman mixed with Avidya, ignorance. But here Purusha is not mixed with. Purusha remains, consciousness remains inactive earlier and later also. But due to the interest of Prakriti, they are misidentified and suffering comes from the Prakriti's side. So Vedanta will not tell this thing because to them only one reality. Even after the liberation, Prakriti is different, Purusha is different. Two realities will remain. But in Vedanta, after the knowledge comes into being, only Brahman will remain, and the world will not remain in such a way. But in Sankhya, Pradhana Prakriti is also true. Even after liberation, after discrimination, knowledge of discrimination, Prakriti remains in its own world, Purusha consciousness remains in his own world. Thank you, Munbar.
Just one little query about it,
Please,
because
please.
Prakriti also has the feature of intelligence, buddhi.
Yeah,
Buddhi
yeah,
element is there with the Prakriti.
yeah,
And
yeah.
sense of discrimination is deeply rooted in the intelligence aspect of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in what way you think that Purusha has this capacity to differentiate or have discrimination? Who is really going to discriminate, the Prakriti or the Purusha? Because
It
the
is
intelligence aspect is there with the Prakriti.
Prakriti. Prakriti is making separated. The knowledge comes in Prakriti, and by way of Prakriti, when Prakriti dissociates itself, Purusha consciousness remain isolated as it was. What Professor Singh I would like to tell, it is the common thing that Prakriti is active and Purusha is inactive. And by way of having this type of consciousness that has no buddhi at all, Prakriti. So knowledge of discrimination, if it is there, it is from the Prakriti's side. Because Prakriti is mukto, Prakriti is baddha, not Purusha at all. But false idea we have got about Shankha, as if Purusha is baddha, as if Purusha is mukto. Even the later commentators of Shankha told, na kaschit Purusho baddhati, na kaschit Purusho samsarati, na kaschit Purusho vimuchyate. So it is from the Shankha point of view, Prakriti is activity. So
Exactly.
you have rightly pointed out that intelligence remains in Prakriti's side. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, Dr. Munmun, you wanted to continue?
Sir, please. I
Yeah.
couldn't.
You want to say something more?
Yeah, just one more thing, sir. Just want to
Yeah.
know about the later Shankar development, that do they accept that Purusha is one? Do they reject the idea of plurality of Purusha?
So the Purusha is one. Ultimately, they come to the conclusion Purusha is one, eternal, disembodied, inactive. But many, it is the two layers of Purusha. When there is false identification from Prakriti's side to Purusha, then the consciousness remains many. What is told Janano, Jara, Maran, etc., it is among the many people. So it is called Jivatma, like Jivatma, though this term they have not used. But there are two layers of consciousness. One is falsified consciousness, which are called many, and the real consciousness is one.
Sir, any later works of Shankar where they have denied this position?
Yeah, this even in Tattva Kaumudi, last verses, they deal all these things. And also Vijnana Vikshu, they have dealt all these things. And I will send my paper to you. All the references are given.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I have more questions. Thank you so much.
Okay. So is there anybody else who wants to say something, some questions? So it seems there is nothing, and you have really enlightened everybody, Professor Ghosh. Thank you very much.
Professor Singh.
And in fact, in the Western philosophy also, there are dualists like Descartes and Locke also. They have it. But in case of Descartes, generally it happens that he is using the term existence in a very peculiar sense of the term. Like he says the body exists because of its primary and secondary qualities. Then he says the mind also exists because of knowing, feeling, loving, judging, hating, etc. And he says God also exists because of the, perfection. Being a perfect idea, as an idea, it exists. So the term existence is indeed very problematic concept. It can exist as an idea, it can exist as an emotion or knowledge part of it. It can also exist as embodied one. So, so if the Sankhya Purush is one, then it's the ideal state of it.
Yeah.
So, and if it is many, then it is the Jiva state of it. And if it comes to the Prakriti, then it has all the attributes and 25 elements and everything else.
Yeah.
So this can be. Anyway, thank you very much for enlightening us.
Thank you very much also.
Now it's over to you, Dr. Munmun Sen, and I hope my job is over.
Yeah, thank you so much. So on behalf of the IK Center, Assam University, I extend our sincere thanks and gratitude.
Hello. May I ask a question to sir?
There is somebody who is asking the question. Can we just okay? Just 1 minute. Yeah, please.
So, Pranam sir.
Biplab, please. I know you.
Yeah. So I have just a small question. That is, as I said, and thanks to you to your excellent presentation. And I have just one query. That is, in Sankhya Karika, it's in 55th Karika. It is Ishwara Krishna is telling that Tatra Jaramarnakitam Dukkham Prapnoti Chetanaha Purusaha. So how can I just?
That I already told you, Biplab, that there are 2 layers of Purusha. This has been accepted. One layer of Purusha, as I concluded, this is not veiled Purusha consciousness. It is unveiled consciousness. It is inactive, disembodied, eternal. Apart from this, there are lower manifestation of consciousness, and which is taken in the first Janana Marana Paranana Bahutva. So when one takes birth, others not. When one is died, others not. From this, it is inferred there is a multiplicity of consciousness. This is embodied consciousness, not the disembodied consciousness, which we terminologically we can use Jiva, not the ultimate Purusha, Vishuddha Chaitanya. It is not the case. So whenever they give the argument in favor of multiplication of Purusha consciousness, that is concerning only the limited being, embodied being. Because Mrityu, Janma, Karma, etc. is possible only for the embodied being, not disembodied being. But our real Purusha is disembodied. So they are okay for justification of the false ascription. They think that consciousness is also dying, consciousness is also taking birth, they are also suffering, and there is a release from suffering. So this is false. Ultimately, they come to the one consciousness, disembodied consciousness. Thank you, Biplab.
Okay, sir. One more, sir. If I just understand that it will be disembodied consciousness, then it also telling that Karika number 68, Prapte Sarira Bhede Charitarthatam Pradhana Vinirvitto Tishtati Sanskarbhatha Chakra Tishtati. Sorry, sir. Just let me know. Prapte Sarir Bhete Charitatvat Pradhana Vinirvitto Aikantikam Kaivallam Ubhayam Ubhayam kaivallam apnoti. Purusa. Sir, here actually at last in Tattva Kaumudi it is said that ekantikam avasambhavi atyantikam avinashi iti ubhayam kaivalyam dukkhatraya vigamam prapnoti purusah. Sir, here also in my understanding, sir, it is saying that dukkhatraya vigamam prapnoti purusah. So
Actually, Biplab, as I told you,
yeah,
that the same thing is contradictory things are written in Shankha. No
yes,
purusho, no purusho samsarati, no purusho vimuchyate,
yes, yes,
no purusho, all these things are written. It is
yes,
just opposite to that. My point
yes,
of view is this. It is Prakriti who is spreading her spell to others. When Prakriti thinks that Buddhi comes in Prakriti, that he is isolated from Purusha, then all the influences are taking over, are withdrawn. Then Purusha becomes isolated and Prakriti becomes isolated. Isolated in Sanskrit word is better, Koibollo. Cable, it comes from the word cable.
yes, sir,
So
exactly.
if Biplab is kept isolated in a jail,
Yeah.
it is Koibollo because you are so Purusho when all the influence of Prakritis are withdrawn. Purusha remains alone.
Yes,
And,
exactly.
and this is also tantamount to having a mukti because he is no more disturbed.
Yes,
In
yes,
this sense, it is told that Purusho Kaivallam apnoti. Kaivallam means isolation without
isolation.
any influence of Prakriti.
Isolate and yeah, this is the right thing. I think that at last Purusha gets isolated from Prakriti, and
Yeah,
then the suffering will. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
thank you.
So thank you, Biplav, for taking up all these things. So now I think this presentation is over, and over to you, Dr. Murmu.
Sir, actually, there are one or two questions in our chat box.
Okay, if the time permits, we can have it.
Sir, do you like to answer?
Yeah, why not?
One is that do you agree with the view that there underlies an unconscious teleology in Shankha concept of cosmic evolution? This is the
Yes,
first.
I agree. Because cosmic evolution is unconscious, which is in the Prakriti's part. It is the phenomenon of Prakriti. Prakriti accept it. And it is the work of Prakriti actually, not Purusha. So this evolution comes in Prakriti. Because when we say that Parinam or evolution, that is evolution of Prakriti, not Purusha. So I accept this. And second, any other?
No, sir.
Okay,
This is.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, then I once again thank on behalf of the Center for Indian Knowledge System, Assam University. I extend our sincere thanks and gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Professor Raghunath Ghosh, for sparing his valuable time with us, and also for this very lucid elaboration on Shankha, and for also enriching us. Thank you so much, sir. And
Thank you, Munmoon and Chairman Sir, Professor Singh,
And thank you very much. Yeah.
And I
being
also,
associated. Otherwise, I would have Koibal. Thank you very much.
I also thank in a special way Professor Singh for chairing this session and also for his valuable observation and comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
you.
And many thanks to all our dear participants for being with us. We have again evening session today. We have two more lectures today evening. So let us wind up. So see you then. Thank you so much once again.